Hello and welcome back, Boneheads. This is Rich and I'm joined once again by Ben.
Hey everybody, and we've got a great show for you today. We are joined by Rick, local player and reigning Sewer Bowl champion, to talk about our Sewer Bowl 7's Blood Bowl tournament at the weekend and how that went. We are going to be talking about running a Blood Bowl 7's league and the usual games, hobby and star players. So, Rick, how are you today?
Hi, good, thanks for having me back.
No, it's brilliant to have you here. Rick joined us for at least one other episode.
He did, it was the mixed teams.
Episode 3.
It was episode 3.
It's almost a year ago now, which is fantastic. And still one of the most popular episodes. Right, let's crack on with news. Okay, so over to news. Rich, what have you got for us this week?
We have got a semi-new one on Kickstarter.
We've been waiting for this one.
We have been waiting for this one, mostly for Ian, I think. Just to upset him. So, Hungry Trolls are re-releasing their Plague Fields models, which is effectively their Nurgle team. They're already 5 times over their target. There's just over a week to go. But basically, you can get a big guy, 4 warriors, 4 pestigores, 7 rotters, some mutations to mix things up a little, including all unlocked stretch goals, which is a cheerleader, 2-star players and a coach for, what was it, 76 quid including delivery?
So this is Plague Fields Miniatures, Hungry Troll on Kickstarter.
Yeah, so basically what they've done is they're now offering it as a resin or a metal option. Prices are exactly the same. But they've changed the scale on some of their models. They've changed the posing or the looks of a couple of them as well. Just to be able to... I think a lot of it is based on the feedback that they had from the original. And they kind of went, you know what? Okay, well, we're going to take into consideration what you said and run with it.
So, yeah, one abomination, which is a huge...
it's like a great unclean one.
Yeah.
And it's customisable.
Yeah, loads of bits
There's
and pieces
options
for
on
that. 4 Plague Warriors, 4 Beasts, 7 Rotters. The Rotters actually look really cool.
They do. I do like them.
The one split down the middle with the mountain now.
Yeah, it's quite creepy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But they've done they're re-releasing a load of their star players they did as well.
The Putrid Beasts, the Pestigores, they are massive looking.
They are massive looking.
But, like, chunky, good massive.
They look like they're going to do you damage as opposed to oversized, if that makes sense.
They are very horrible miniatures.
They really are horrible, which is perfect.
Yeah.
You do have options to buy individual players if you want, or to buy star players. There's an option to buy just the Beast and the 4 warriors as well.
Yeah, €30 for that. With the Abomination and the Warriors. No, that's really good. The star players are very cool, including Ding Dong, which is the one that was previewed a lot on the Blood Bowl community recently.
It was indeed. I think they've changed
the Bell Fanatic,
and that Puzzle Pain, Toothless as well. I think that's a Puffle Gusmore one, isn't it? And
Lord Skulltaker has been resized to have real strength 5. That's a great move.
They said he was strength 4. People were looking at him going to go, no, he's a strength 4 player. So they went, all right, and just raised increased the scale on it.
Looks really good.
Yeah, but it looks so much better, doesn't it? So much more imposing.
Oh, look at the Minotaurs.
The upgrades and whatnot.
Well, Minotaur and Minotaur Corrupted, they are great models.
Yeah, really good.
How do you get them? Are they just random upgrades? They are just upgrades.
Yep, you can just buy them individually. But they weren't looking for huge amounts anyway on their target. I think they just wanted to try and cover costs on doing what people wanted them to do. But they've done fantastically well.
5,400 against a target of 1,800.
Yep.
8 days to go. So this episode should be out on the Saturday, and this is Wednesday next week. So when you hear this, there's still 4 days of this Kickstarter going live. However, they've done a really good job advertising it. So
they really have.
If you're anywhere near the Blood Bowl community, you probably would have already seen this.
More than likely, I'd imagine so.
Really cool. Really like that one.
And slightly cheaper than the average as well. It's 76.
Yeah, but what's the postage?
That's including postage.
Oh, that's really good.
£61 for the team, and £15 for the postage.
Hang on. Oh, so okay, yeah, fine. So £75 for a 16 model team?
Yeah.
14.
14.
16. Yeah.
Plus mutations, plus
16. That's really good.
Yeah. Really.
It is exactly what we always say. That £75. This is a lot for a team, but it's a real treat, I think.
But you're getting an improved team. So just listen to the community.
Rick, you bought quite a few bits and bobs from Kickstarter and things, haven't you? For Blood Bowl?
I bought a few. Look, I've always traditionally been a GW team collector.
But how much?
I'm really liking what these third party people are doing. It just gives it.
Are they about the same price for the teams you've paid? 60, 70,
more or less,
£70?
Yeah, more or less. And I love every team I've got.
No, it's a lot of money for a single team, but if you only get a few teams a year, then it's really worthwhile, isn't it?
Yeah, and those of us who make the custom ones, I look at that and sometimes think, oh man, that's steep. But break down what I've spent on maybe like my Chaos Renegades.
Yes.
I've probably done the same. But you do it bit by bit, so it doesn't seem as much.
I think if you've got a team that you really enjoy playing, investing in a good third party team, it's a very personal team, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's an investment. It's not just.
We've said it before. I mean, if there's a tournament you're specifically going to go to, or this is going to be the tournament team. I think we said it with the clown teams that came out.
We did.
So
the golf freaks.
Yeah, if you want to have something special, that's a really fair price, and if that's your main game, then dropping £60 for something really special to arrive in a few months' time is worthwhile.
Yeah, I agree.
And you get something kind of limited.
You get a lot more off the Kickstarters.
Yeah. You've had loads of tokens and bits and pieces over the years, haven't you?
Stretch goals are brilliant. It's just those little bits which make it worthwhile, because all of a sudden it's not just 70 quid for 14 players. It's 70 quid for 14 players, a coach, two cheerleaders, a ball, tokens, dice. And it's just like, hold on, this is getting cheap. Purely just by throwing more money at it. But it's really good. I like my Nurgle team, but that's just beautiful.
It's tricky because I really like the Games Workshop Nurgle team, except for the Beast. The Beast of Nurgle. And this one here, I can't remember what this thing's called. The big dude.
Yeah, I called him Big Guy in the end.
Yeah, the Abomination.
That's it.
Would be really useful for lots of things. So it's just a shame that the postage is so much for a single miniature. However, still, heck of a Kickstarter. The models are beautiful. And really impressed with that.
You could actually split that quite nicely, couldn't you, between people? Like the Pestigore models aren't the best from GW.
No.
They're a Marmite.
They're misshapen, I think.
Yeah. Can you imagine having a couple of them in amongst the GW?
These guys.
Someone else wants the big guy.
Yeah. The Abominations are €13 each.
Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
It is really good.
I do, for the Nurgle team, I do like Games Workshop's Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
That team there on the Kickstarters.
It's beautiful.
That is a nice looking team, yeah.
Spend more way on it.
It's very appropriate. So that is the Plague Fields miniatures. What else is going on? Is there much going on at the moment?
Not masses. Since we've spoken last, the Lizardmen have come out, haven't they?
Oh yes, the Lizardmen have been spoiled, which we did call.
Which we did call again. So we are 5 from 5 between you and I.
Something like that.
Kenry, you're next, by the way, people.
I'm not convinced about Kenry. I'd love them to be next.
There's a lot of shouts for Norse/Amazon.
I think Norse would be the most interesting because from a design point of view, that's new territory for them. Because they haven't done anything Norse for a very long time.
And it would fit in with the Warcry stuff.
I can't help but think they might do the High Elves just to tidy up a few loose ends.
I would love a High Elf team. I think that'd be great. You know what? Actually, with all the teams that are remaining, there's not a single one I wouldn't be interested in picking up now.
Yeah.
Vampires, that'd be cool. I bet they'd do a really good job of that.
If they do a vampire team, I'm all over that.
It'd be great. Chaos Dwarfs, I know we were talking about that on the way home from a sewer bowl, and what they'd put in them would be fantastic because Chaos Dwarfs are one of the hardest teams to proxy at the moment because they'd stopped doing Bull Centaurs years ago, and the alternatives are jolly expensive and don't feel quite right to me. Yeah.
But so the Lizards are coming out. They have in amongst that shown the Chameleons. So we believe that there are going to be more positionals coming out. A couple of Chameleon skinks, which they actually have on the Fumble Secret team.
They're like strength 1 funny things though.
They are. So it'd be interesting to see whether they've taken anything from that.
We did pop it out on Facebook to see what people thought they would have. And there's a couple of good ones like shadowing, things like that.
If there's not shadowing on it, it is a complete disgrace.
A chameleon
who can't blend into his surroundings and follow.
It might just be branded a skink catcher or something like that. But still, the Lizardmen team is top tier, isn't it? It's got to be top 3 teams, top 3, top 4 team, and they're not really in the need for a fix. So if they do a similar thing with the catchers for halflings, that will tweak it up a bit much. But if they find a way to make them quite balanced, so a normal skink is 60k. If they bring in another skink that's 80k with catch, it will change up the build. But it will change up the build options, but I don't think it would get used very often because it's not a catching team.
It's not until
it's not an edge team.
It, is it?
Yeah, so
unless they have access to passing.
You
could mix things up a bit.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, but obviously they've been previewed and we don't know when they're going to come out, but as soon as they come out, we will drag Lewis back on the show.
Yeah,
and unlike the last time we had Lewis on,
he knows what he's doing.
He's won an awful lot with Lizardmen, so that'll be a worthwhile conversation.
But I will be buying them. I've been looking for a Lizard team for ages, and I will be buying them.
Hey, Kat.
Sadly, so will I.
Unsurprisingly.
Absolutely, I will be too.
There's one other thing I want to mention. There's a gentleman called Anthony. I'm going to call him Anthony F, because I want you to be able to find him on Facebook, who is creating his own STL files for 3D printing. And so far he's made a Khemri and an Ogre team. Now he's shown these a little bit on the Blood Bowl community. And one of his friends has actually already printed, painted, and shown the world what they can look like. Very limited with regards to the sculpts. He's only doing like one sculpt per positional.
Oh, I saw this one, yeah.
But I don't think that's an issue. I know some people really want the unique sculpt for each position. For each player. However, I haven't got a problem because you don't see that issue with chess. Chess is a game where you need uniformity to work out what's what.
I think it depends on what race it is. So if it's Khemri, not a problem at all.
Mm-hmm.
Because actually uniformity for undead makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What was the other one you said?
Ogres.
Yeah, I don't know about ogres. I think.
Ogres are a bit more obvious, I suppose. That's the ogre and that's the snotling. You can't get mixed up, I suppose. But he's if you search for Anthony F on BB Community and probably STL or Khemri, he should pop up. But he's going to be potentially doing a Kickstarter soon with a number of teams that he's actually got in the pipeline. So it might be worth looking at, similar to the Golden Wings one we spoke about last time.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a bit of a possible little revolution coming on at the moment with 3D printing.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. It's only a matter of time, Rick, I'm sure.
But that's the long and short of it, really.
There is one other little bit, and it's just really a bit of a review. So we saw Windsor Chog Miniatures.
We did indeed
start growing. They did a great thing for us and our listeners, which is you get 10% off. You use the code Bonehead at their cart. I picked a couple of miniatures. Picked up the Birch Tree Man and the Big Ogre Guy. I did a little unboxing video on YouTube. I've built them. I've primed them, and they're lovely models.
Yeah.
So Windsor Chog Miniatures, do go and have a look. They don't have a huge range, but every one of their models is really, really well done.
Yeah, there's a lot of time that's gone into them.
And the price point's fantastic. Postage was cheap, so basically with the Bonehead code, postage was free.
That's brilliant.
Which made all the difference. So it's 15 quid for a really cool star player.
That's cool.
And
can't beat that, really.
Really recommend them. So over to hobby, games and bits and pieces. Let's start with Rick. What have you been playing?
Actually, I've had a few games of Blood Bowl over the weeks.
Only a couple of three, eh?
A couple of three.
So
I had a game of sevens with you, didn't I?
I did indeed.
Was this practice for the tournament?
It was.
Yes, it was.
Which certainly seemed to pay off.
It did. He beat me 2-1 on turn 12.
Yeah, that was also a bit of luck there.
Elven and rubbish.
Yeah.
Another reason Elven should just go away, never to return.
Who else? I had a game with Ben Russell.
Ben 2.
Ben 2, down at the Caravan.
Again, was that sevens again, or was that full Blood Bowl?
No, that was full Blood Bowl. I needed to get
another league game.
Oh, yeah, I needed to get a league game in with my Dark Elves, and Ben managed to take out another 3 players.
Oh, that's right,
with his High Elves.
Murdered the Dark Elves with High Elves, which is crazy.
Yeah, the story of that team's
bad times.
Yeah, that's the downside of Elves, especially in a league format, which is something we're going to talk about quite a lot in our second topic. So, other than your Sewer Bowl games, have you got any other ones in?
A league game with Matt.
Oh, brilliant.
That's good.
Was that minor league as well?
Minor league, yeah.
Brilliant. Oh, so he was using his Orcs.
That was the first game I've played where I haven't lost players, actually.
Wow. And against Orcs as
Against
well.
Orcs, yeah.
That's fantastic. Rich, how about you?
I had my game against Rick. Not Tuesday ago. Last Tuesday, wasn't it? We did that. We had a couple of games for the YouTubes.
Absolutely.
So we got a couple of that. Was more tournament practice.
Yeah, so we've got a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/The Bonehead Podcast. And on there we have 7 Super Series, which is just me playing Blood Bowl 7s against various players. Rick, you've had a couple of games on there,
yep,
which was good. And against Rich, we filmed a couple of games using the Super Bowl 7's skill sets.
Yep.
It gave us a bit of practice and also to see an example of a skill set system for Blood Bowl 7's. One of those is live, and I'm going to try and get the other one out either this weekend or the following weekend, because I've got another game in the can as well.
Amazing.
Which is quite cool. But no, it was good to get that game on the go, and we got to use their pitch as well.
We did. That pitch was wonderful.
You
know what? It was the concern, I think, at one point was whether the ball token was going to show up. But it came out so well.
Well, the green one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had some ball tokens made with the actual scatter on the top of it, because the idea being is if you've got the ball, if you don't need the scatter template unless you need to scatter the ball, in which case the ball's got no one on it. However, with our Blood Bowl 7's maps, which are bright green, it just faded into nothingness.
Yeah.
But now we've got Stone Pitch, it still stands out brilliantly, especially on camera.
I still like my traditional ball.
I know, and it works great, but less so for camera.
Yes, no, that makes sense.
Nobody knows. Hobby-wise, I finished off my 7's team for the tournament.
Yes, you based some stuff.
I based some stuff, and they were all painted.
And they look really
good. A little bit of highlighting.
It looks really good.
But it did look good. You wouldn't have noticed from 2 foot away, which is good.
Honestly, basing makes all the difference.
It really does. I had such a little glow after I did the basing. I was like,
it finishes them off.
Feels so good.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't completely finished all the painting, like the highlighting, you don't notice it at all.
Not even that. When I did my Dark Elves to play, play against Milton on YouTube, they're still mostly not painted. I painted them purple and did a couple of details. Obviously, agraxed them and then based them, and it just made them look finished. I've done hardly any details on them. Now it means that later I can just go back when I get bored and just top them up and make them look really good. Honestly, basing is the biggest thing. It makes all the difference.
It does.
Speaking of Dark Elves,
oh yes,
I've done a thing. I love the Dark Elf roster, and every time I see a Dark Elf painted really nicely, it makes me want them. Mostly because of the stab. I love the assassin. I love stabby stab. I was told by yourself that you never take one.
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced.
But I have created a proxy team, which you can see on our page, using Sylvaneth models,
which look really cool. It's a great idea.
Yeah. It's at the moment it just looks like a black mass, and it is difficult to tell them apart. But I'm planning on doing red skin and red highlights, so hopefully it'll be a bit more obvious as to who is who and what is what.
Moreover, if that's one of the only negative comments you had is how the hell do we tell them apart?
Yeah, I think that's it.
And I'm perfectly happy to just give you my transfers so you can put them on the base.
Oh, there we go.
Which I think is probably the easiest way to
quite possibly, yeah. And just do this, yeah. Exactly. That would make so much sense.
Chuck it on the bases, job done.
That is the most simple solution and one I had not thought of.
Yeah, no one on the thread suggested it either.
There's like 70 odd comments.
I've got 2 Dark Elf teams. I've got loads of transfers I'm never going to bother using.
I may just do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm excited to be able to have an elf team that isn't an elf team.
That might be your first Edge team.
That is my first Edge team.
That's really exciting.
That is my first Edge team.
The good thing about Dark Elves, though, is, well, apart from your experience, Rick, they can dish out some hurt, and they can survive a lot of hurt as well.
Yeah, they're a nice middle.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, they should do.
Yeah.
They should do. I mean, you just had some bloody...
I have had some...
Yeah.
But I've named them the Black Oak Outcasts.
Like that.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Boo.
So I have a non-elf elf team.
Which I think is very cool. It'd be interesting to see what you do for the next ones.
No.
Yeah, no.
I had 2 or 3 comments of wood elves. It's like, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, that's talking of wood elves, that is a bit of hobby I have done. So we got a chance to do the unboxing video at Toyment when the wood elf team came out, and I finished off building them. I don't know why, I just did. Because they're great models. Got them based up, they're all primed now, which is cool. I primed them with the Ogre and the Dreamer.
That's cool.
I've got some contrast to try and paint them up, and I don't know if I'll do a little bit of a test with the skin and see, because Milton has used one of the skins on his Pro Elf team, and it's worked really, really well. So I was like, okay, you know what, Wood Elves, there's a lot of skin, we'll try and undo that with those, but I'll give it a test and see how it works. Cool. But,
well, I've done mine with contrast.
Yeah. That looks good. The skin looks good.
I still miss my paints. But
yeah, it's I think there's a certain.
I think there's an application for it.
Yeah.
Especially if you just want to
get it done quick.
Get a team done quick. But
see, I have really bad painting habits. Like I will base the entire model the primary colour. So with the Dark Elf team, which is primary colour is purple, I just basically covered the entire model in a slightly watered down purple over a white undercoat, which kind of did the thing that contrast does, and then you paint out the details, and then you give a shade, and the shade kind of outlines all the colours anyway, but it also covers up your mistakes, which is why brown undercoat is such a useful thing if that's one of your primary colours. So contrast does a similar thing. So it'd be interesting to see. And I would love to get a Wood Elf team painted up because I think it's just quite cool. I mean, they are OP, but I mean, I've already got my Skaven for that, but I think Wood Elves are even more powerful than Skaven.
Yeah, I agree.
Interestingly, nobody took them at the tournament.
They didn't at all, did they? Maybe they just weren't. People were worried about them disappearing.
Well, maybe, or maybe it's just the models hadn't been out quite long enough.
That's true.
Because I was quite tempted.
Someone was saying that they found it difficult to
price one out. Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point.
I think
I haven't checked, to be honest, but
yeah, I reckon you can just about do it. I mean, how much are the war dancers? They're 120 each, I think.
120.
And then the linemen are
70.
Yeah, 350. So for 590, you've got 5 linemen and 2 war dancers, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
However,
I think the catchers would be quite handy to have in the side.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sold on the catchers myself, but I think if you're going to be throwing and catching, just go for pro elves. It's way better skill set for it.
Well, I won't argue that one.
Yeah. And as for games, I also got some games in for Super Bowl, which was great. Played my 5 on that. Played some more practice games of 7s, and I'm hoping that tomorrow night at club I'll get a proper Blood Bowl game in. But we will just have to see what it goes. Hobby wise,
I'm still waiting. I'm still needing a game tomorrow night.
Oh, brilliant!
So I might just because I'm taking random.
Yeah, I know. Which is
and
so
it's going to be his first league game. His first ever league game. So he'll be playing Ben 2. But yes, if you're looking for a game,
I'm sure
I am good to go.
Minor or major?
Either.
Okay.
Whatever you prefer.
Bring your minor team.
Yeah.
Because well, I think there's going to be quite a few people looking for games tomorrow. You're playing Adeptus Titanicus tomorrow.
If Matt turns up, yep.
Fantastic. But if not, Blood Bowl.
Oh, brilliant.
I believe you know how to play.
I'll come prepared.
So, very lastly, anyone got anything brewing in the post received as a prize?
Hint.
So, congratulations to Rick, who did win our tournament of the weekend. It was 5 rounds, and we'll talk about it in a second, but he won the Punga Miniatures Magma Tribe.
It ended up being a bit of a mixture of both, I think.
Oh, really?
It did. But
that's cool.
I'm not sure. Rich and I were looking at them,
trying to figure out which
before
is
you
which.
got here, and they look great.
They look great. They're big
really
players,
good.
which is excellent. Especially because the new orcs are actually really big players as well.
Yeah, they're going to fit quite nicely, aren't they, on the pitch?
I guess this goes back to what we were talking about, bespoke teams.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to painting these guys up. I think they're going to
come up so
something
well.
special.
Really,
and,
they look awesome.
It's a trophy that you can play some games with. Even if orcs, I don't think are your style.
No, they're not.
It's a forever trophy.
It's a forever trophy.
They are that, but you know, over the years I've played them.
Just paint 7. We'll get them on Super 7 series.
Yeah.
That'll be
Okay,
awesome.
There's the challenge.
That'll be awesome.
Simple.
Seems appropriate to paint the 7s team for a 7's prize. As for other bits and bobs going on,
I'm going to finish up my non-dark elves.
Yes. What team are you taking to Carnage?
I am taking my forest goblins.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
So I'm going to take them and just go for some stunty loving.
So that's Secret Carnage at the end of August, isn't it?
Yep,
30th? 31st.
October 31st.
Wow, 2 weeks on Saturday.
Yeah.
So you've got your team all built and painted, which is brilliant.
Randall has just got to put a little bit, has got to do a green wash on his statues, paint his wizard, and do some basing, but he is there as well.
Nah, that's really, really cool.
I haven't put his fluff up yet, have I?
No.
I need to do that still. He wrote some fluff on his team.
Yeah, I saw it. It was...
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
So he does a good job at that. And we have got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks till Tombstone Tournament.
I am looking forward to that. I am going to be putting up a post very soon with the list of teams that could be taken.
If you get me the logo, I can publish the rulebook where all the teams are in.
I need to get the logo
we just waited on the logo for that.
Yeah.
And then we can put the rule set up and we can start pimping it.
Sweet, that'll probably be the end of the month.
Yeah, fine.
Cool, we'll get that done.
Wonderful, right, let's move on to our first topic. Okay, so first big topic of the episode is talking about our tournament, Sewer Bowl 7s. So we've been mentioning it for a good few episodes now, and it's been and gone, which was fantastic. So Sewer Bowl 7s was hosted at Entoyment and Pool, which is a great, I don't want to say little, but it's actually a massive game store.
It's amazing.
An insane amount
It's really good.
A dangerous amount of stock.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't get a chance to buy anything is because I ran out of time before the end of the day.
Oh, I bought something.
Oh, yeah.
I just didn't take my wallet.
Well, that's a very sensible idea, I think. It is a fantastic, fantastic store. I think everyone else who went bought stuff.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, which is very cool. And it was a 5-round Blood Bowl 7s tournament.
It was, and it went so well.
It was a really good day, I think. We ended up with 14 players.
14?
Yeah, we had one guy who couldn't make it because he was forced to work because he's in the police, which was very sad.
It was.
But that meant I got to play, which was quite fun. So when we played Bonehead Bowl, I didn't play, I just TO'd, and this time we tweaked a few things so that even when we were both playing, we could still do all the data entry and stuff.
Yeah.
And
worked really well.
Yeah, we got away with it. It was a bit stressful, but actually we got away with it. It meant that we had an absolute ton of games.
We really did.
Really did. So, first things first, congratulations again to Rick, who did actually come first.
He did come first.
And it was a very, very small margin as well.
Yeah,
5
really,
points.
against Chris.
So, Rick, you ended up with 4 wins, 1 loss, and 135 points. And second place was 4 wins, 1 loss, with 132 points. It was such a close tournament. And as we went into round 5, there was 4 or 5 teams that were all within a win away from claiming that first.
Yeah, there really was. It was so tight.
Which was really exciting to see.
It was great. But it was such a good day all round. So really good, really well humoured, really sort of, I don't remember any sort of disagreement on a rule or anything in there.
There was only one disagreement on a rule, which was because the Blood Bowl 7's rules have gone through so many iterations. There were 2 points that came out of it, which we'll have to make sure are very nice and clear for next time. One is the throwing, because the old Blood Bowl 7's rules basically dropped long bomb and counted everything as one further, which I really don't think is necessary, and is now gone from the NAF rules.
Right.
So I've never played with those rules for Blood Bowl 7s, and it's not in the book, so it's just a legacy thing. And the other legacy thing, which isn't covered in the current NAF Blood Bowl 7's book, but is covered in the one from like 2005 BC, is the kickoff rule.
Yeah, the ball scattering.
Yeah. The point of contention with that was the BB7's rule adaptation doesn't say anything about changing the kickoff to being a touchback if it goes into beyond the other person's scrimmage. So there's no reason to change it from the halfway line, and that did come up a couple of times. We were like, is this a touchback? Is this not a touchback? And as we were TOs, we made the ruling that actually the rulebook doesn't say to change the kickoff. It just says if it goes into the opponent's half. So that's one thing that I think we'll have to clear up. But actually, I like the halfway line. It makes sense.
Yep, I do. Simple and straightforward.
You can still get a onside kick. It can still be 3 squares in front of the other team without it being right in front of yours.
Yeah, agreed.
So
I think allowing it to scatter to the other touchback line is
too much.
It's too far.
It means you can just plonk the pit. Yeah, so it's interesting. But anyway, we went with that. That was probably the only rules contention that came up. Was a case of what exactly do we do with this? Yeah, we played 5 rounds.
We did.
So normal Blood Bowl tournament for full games, 3 games. We ran Bonehead Bowl. It worked out really well. Everyone we've been to has been 3 games.
It has indeed.
And that's felt the right amount. For 7s, obviously it's a shorter format. We felt that 5 was pretty reasonable. So one thing to check in with is how many games, if we were going to do it again, which we've already got it booked in for next year.
We have.
If we do go for 7s, how many games should we play next year?
5.
5 was good for you?
5 was good. It was a long day. I would start it earlier.
See, I would consider 4. Purely for that and just have that gap in between.
I think it's like you said, 4 games. There was a lot of teams that were still very close. 5 games.
Oh, even 5 games. It was only, to be fair, even last place was down to a point.
Absolutely.
There was a lot.
No, it was a long day. I was pretty brain dead at the end of it, but
that's something we're already going to have to take into consideration. So we have 11 players out of a 14, and actually do our little questionnaire afterwards on Sunday to give us some feedback about that. And it is the majority of 5 games.
Yeah.
But it did feel, after that 4th game, it was about 4:30. Actually, it might have been quite nice to call it quits then and just had a nice chilled end. So, what to think about for next season.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's something that it would be worth putting out to people.
Yeah.
And kind of going, we spoke about this last year. What are your thoughts a year on?
Yeah, is it 5 games? Is it 4 games? I love 5 games. You've got to play a lot of Blood Bowl. There was a lot of Blood Bowl.
There's a huge amount of Blood Bowl.
But each game isn't overtaxing. You know, they're short enough to get your break.
Yeah. The timings went really well this time.
Oh, so well.
Quite by accident. We didn't have to... There was only one point we had to hurry up a game, wasn't it?
Yeah, but even when I went over there, we're on the last turn.
Exactly.
That was
brilliant. It was going to be a case of, we need to let know there's about 15 minutes left.
Yeah.
And they were on their last turn. So finished with enough time for us to run the stats and get the matchings up. That was also something that I was quite pleased with how it went. We did manage to get away without pairing anybody up against the same coach.
Oh, yeah. That was something special, to be honest.
It was quite fortunate. So we've got a spreadsheet that does most of the work for us, but we do have to go through and just manually double check that that actually there's no, we're not making people play the same people twice, and it worked out all right. I did check at the very end. I was like, has anyone played anyone twice? No, fantastic. It was a bit easier at Bonehead Bowl because I had that time as we were going into the round to prepare all the matchings, and then when the last match came out, it would only make a slight adjustment. This, where we went basically from nothing to everything all in one go. But still worked out quite well. So, my next question for you both is the rules pack.
I loved it.
So, specifically around the skills and the tiering.
I think it was perfect.
I think so too. There was a bit of discussion about it at the end.
Good, that's great.
And we kind of discussed, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, people out there, I think we discussed and came full circle that actually it wasn't a bad...
It worked out well.
It wasn't a bad mix.
The leader option was good.
So, yeah, that was a bit contentious on the feedback. A couple of people didn't like the leader being forced on us, and more along the lines of it was a bit complicated. So, which was exactly what we were trying not to achieve. Yeah. So, Blood Bowl 7s, the re-rolls are twice the price.
Yes.
Some teams can take leader on a single, some teams can take leader on a double, even within the same tier group.
Mm-hmm.
So, halflings now have leader on a single. The other tier 3s don't, for example. And we thought, just to make that, just everyone gets one reroll basically. It can't be robbed by halfling master chefs. It just sits in there, and you can trade it out for another, single skill or whatever. And it may kind of to be a bit thematic of being your captain. That captain gets leader. I liked it from that point of view because actually it meant you had a default, and you could choose to take no rerolls.
Yeah.
So I definitely played someone who traded out their leader reroll.
Yeah, Milton did. One of our local players.
Milton
did as well. He sacked that off to put block on a witch elf.
And I also played someone, I think it might have been Chris with the Skaven.
Yeah.
He was able to buy a reroll.
Yes.
So he was playing with 2, and that's a big advantage.
It is a big advantage, but it's also a huge investment of your team, so it really does make it a very different build. And that's something I was really pleased of. There were multiple dualities of teams. And the builds for each were very different. Yeah. I say very different. They were quite different. In fact, let me just bring up the original pairings list. So there was 3 human teams, 2 necromantic teams, 2 Skaven teams, 2 halfling teams, 2 pro-elf teams, a dark elf, a renegade, and an Amazon team. So I was surprised to see that there were a couple of teams that weren't represented. Surprised not to see Norse. I thought they would have been quite popular.
That was my only other option, was Norse, but I was hoping to use that Corpus Cabal.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually quite surprised there wasn't Norse. And it was a team I considered.
Yeah, if I'd had the models, and this is why I want Games Workshop to bring out Norse team names, although there's quite a lot of positionals, so they might struggle. The Ulf Warriors, because I think, did we run games like that, or was this with Bonehead Bowl, Rich? We practiced a couple of games, and your Ulf Warriors with tackle were awesome.
No, we did do 1 or 2 for the 7s as well. And the Elf Warriors were infuriatingly good.
Now, werewolves are not too shabby either.
Oh goodness, no!
They did a great job, but they didn't win. I mean, they came close, the necromantic teams, but they didn't win. And classic elf magic happened in the end. But the lists were very different, even down to halflings. I took 2 trees. Joe, who did a heck of a job on the day, coming in fancy dress as a halfling master chef with chainsaw, took 1 tree, and I ended up playing against him, unsurprisingly, because tier 3 tends to gravitate towards other tier 3, and I got lucky because actually having that second tree was just like I could destroy more halflings. It was a close game, but it was a good game. But I was pleased that there was more variance in the team builds than I thought might be.
Yeah, I thought it would just be elf heavy, I have to admit, with a scaling or 2 thrown in.
I'm surprised there was less. I mean, was I the only pro elf?
No, there was 2 pro elves.
Oh, there was 2 pro elves, yeah.
Oh, Logan.
Logan it was, yeah.
Yeah, so with the 7 deadly sins, who had quite a bad time of it, I think.
It was a mixed bag for him in the end, I think. He got he got pitch cleared, didn't he?
Yeah, he got tabled.
But he did
game 3.
Looked horrendous.
That was from reigning Bonehead Bowl champion Ben,
who also had a pretty good tournament. He finished 5th in the end, with 3 wins and 2 losses. Not bad, not bad at all. I personally think 1 more skill would have been juicy, or a slightly inflated team value. One of the 2, but that's because I like more. Always like more. Always will like more.
I think it would take away from the 7s.
I do too. I think the 2 skills really makes you think about who you're going to give it to, how you structure your team.
That was the idea, was that actually it made your special guys real special.
Yeah.
Either because they were your reroll, and I had that in several of my games where it was like, going into the second half, my leader guy and their leader guy were both out.
We had that. You and I, we took each other's leader out within a turn of each other.
And actually, it did feel like someone special, like that guy is my captain. That's what he does.
Oh, man.
It was quite cool. But overall, I'm really happy with the build. And
yeah, I wouldn't change much, if anything, to be honest, apart from maybe the number of games.
There was a couple of bits of feedback from us, which was along the lines of, someone literally wrote bang on, but there was someone who said too few, and someone who said the tiers didn't feel all that balanced. Okay. But it's really quite difficult to do that, so we just used the regular tier system. I did look at the 7's wins on
Tiers aren't meant to be balanced, though, are they?
No.
Blood Bowl's not going to be balanced.
I think...
No.
I do wonder if Pro Elves and Necromantic in tier 2 might have felt a little bit special. Because if you think Pro Elves and vampires were in the same catchment zone.
Yeah.
So if we were to do it again, I think we might have to bump a couple of other teams into tier 1. And I think Necromantic and Pro Elves, not to take anything away from you, Rick, because I know...
No. Pro Elves is there's a lot going for them, isn't there?
A lot.
Might be something that we look at just tweaking slightly. So that was good. I was really happy with that. The leader skill was contentious, but I think it worked well for what we wanted to achieve.
I think it needs to stay. There is the option of swapping it out. If you don't want to swap it out, that's fine, but I don't think it was necessarily confusing. I think it's quite straightforward. If you don't want it, fine. Have a normal skill on another guy. It's not...
I think it might have been simpler if we didn't give the option to trade it in, but I really wanted people to have the opportunity to go Hellbent.
Yeah.
And to just literally take no rerolls.
We had people taking no rerolls at Bonehead Bowl.
Yeah, which was amazing.
Which was insane.
Yeah. Having that 1 reroll was nice.
Yeah.
I have to admit.
And you were very careful with when and how you used it.
Well, you were supposed to be careful. Yeah. Desperate. I was lucky I had my halfling master chef, so I just got rerolls for free all the time.
That's good.
And that worked out quite nicely. So... the effort that was put in by people for the tournament was fantastic.
Oh, the pitch by the Creedies
was really beautiful.
That was good.
Amazing.
I didn't realise that he'd hand cut every one of those squares out of plywood.
Yeah, the way he did the touchdown marker.
And the little twiddly touchdown marker was amazing too.
They're quite crafty because he built his own dice.
Yeah, he tells the dice.
Yeah, he's built all those.
But he was saying that when they built it all, they put it in. They got the touchdowns. They had the turn marker.
Yeah.
They had the reroll marker. They built the pitch, and they looked at it and went, something's missing, and realised that they'd completely forgotten the touchdown. And they had that little tiny square at the end, which is why they machined that little bit. So it was an afterthought.
Yeah, I didn't notice.
No, you went. Do you know? Did he tell you how they put them on?
No.
Poppers. You know, like clothing poppers.
Oh, wow.
It's literally just that. You can pick it up and just clip it back on again, twizzle it around.
That is a cool idea.
Genius.
No, it was
absolutely
that was
fantastic.
Some of the teams were beautifully painted as well.
Woody's in particular.
Yeah.
Woody's was very, very well done.
The conversion work that Joe had put in on his, because he built this big dugout and thing. I don't think it was quite finished.
He built a whole Hobbit hill.
Yeah, it was still very, very, very impressive.
It was.
And yeah, so it was great to see that effort go in there.
Some halflings in there as well. Did you see?
Yeah.
The big fat bellied one.
Yeah, the star players and
he put a lot of effort in. Just again, I was really impressed with the buy-in that people had for this,
which was really cool, especially for sevens.
Yeah.
So, honesty time, Bonehead Bowl was really different, really exciting, and it was really exciting. It's like I can take a whole team of 2 teams, and it could be craziness. And the builds, there was hundreds of different variants of teams, let alone the builds within them. Going into this, we had a more restricted skill set. We had a very strict team set, and I was worried that it wouldn't be as exciting. And we had the same turnout basically, and played more games. And I'm really pleased with how it went. And one thing I'd really like to do is just get some feedback on how the sevens format felt as a competitive situation. Because Bonehead Bowl was it was slightly competitive, but it was just absurd. Because it was mixed teams. We had no idea what we were going to play against. And it was not a massively competitive thing. Sevens, although it wasn't massively competitive, it didn't feel like that. But you've got normal builds and you can, play.
I think it was taken
consistently.
A bit more seriously.
Yeah.
Not massively, but enough to make you want to win the game. When I played Bonehead Bowl, if I won, great, but I just wanted to see what carnage is.
Everyone was there to just try out absurd things.
Yeah. Yep. Whereas in this, out of the games I lost, so I won 2, lost 3. They were close games. My game against you was close.
Yeah, very.
My game against Ben, 2, was close. And who was the other one I played against that I lost to? Can't remember now. Charlie, maybe? Don't lose to Charlie at the beginning. I'm not sure. But again, that was close. I think there was only 1 touchdown in it each time. And I had the opportunity to be able to go further and do something.
I think a lot of teams that were there were also teams that these guys were playing in leagues.
That is exactly right.
And so it's a chance to play your team a different way. And I think
I love that.
Yeah,
I do love that, and that's why I like sevens. Is because it is Blood Bowl a different way.
It's like a 2020 cricket game,
Exactly.
It's just exciting to.
It's a shot of Blood Bowl. So yeah, I think whether we go for 4 or 5 games next time really depends on the feedback we get and the overall feel of it. I mean, I'm a big fan of moving Blood Bowl into a more competitive light, or more commentary, more streaming, more video footage of it to make it more of just to get more people playing Blood Bowl. But at its heart, I think Blood Bowl's just there to be played for fun. And every one of our players, at the tournament.
I think that's why I actually like the tournament style of play more than the league style of play. I enjoy the team building, but when you go to a tournament, it doesn't matter if your player dies.
Yes.
You tend to just you want to try a bit more and push the boundaries a little bit more because it doesn't matter.
And we've spoken about this a couple of times. There's the Blood Bowl trifecta, isn't there? There's the hobby, there's the story, and there's the game. And tournaments are about the hobby and the game.
Yeah.
Leagues are about the story and the game. Hobbies are always there, but actually, you've got your league. I've built my league. We've gone through this journey. We've now at this point, my team plays because of this way. Tournament, you go right. What do I want to do?
Yeah.
You can just cut straight to what you want to do.
Yeah.
And for a brief period of time, you get to play it out repeatedly and see how it works. It's like deck building. I really like that because it opens up opportunities to play a game you will never achieve in a league format. And you can do some really crazy stuff. I mean, you pulled it off with elves.
Yes, yeah. I definitely there was a few games where I didn't hesitate to put a player in a certain position, knowing that
they're going to die.
At this point, it doesn't matter in the game, and it doesn't matter for the follow-on games.
And you cannot do that in a league.
And it's nice. Yeah, I like that.
So, everybody, that was our breakdown of Super Bowl 7s, which was a pretty great day. And we're We're looking forward to Tombstone Tournament coming up at the end of October, which is our horror-themed one. We'll get the rules pack out for that soon, covering which teams you can take, because this is going to be a very different tournament.
It is horror-themed, Halloween-themed, undead, demons,
which is a mixture of secret teams and standard team, and that'll be quite cool to see. Okay, so our second topic for the episode is about Blood Bowl 7's leagues. So we've had a very good shot at the Blood Bowl 7's tournament, and we've played a lot of one-off games with certain skill packages now. I still think more skills are more better. But one of the first questions that people drop off when you play some 7s is, could you play it in a league?
It was mentioned a couple of times following the tournament.
Yeah, it was.
And it's on the Blood Bowl community, and on even on our YouTube videos, people are like, is there league rules for this? Is there league rules for this? And there have been some over time of various things. I've done some digging, and I can't see... There's a couple of people who said, oh yeah, we ran a tournament. We ran a league, it went really well. I'll put my rules up in a bit. And that was from 2010.
Oh, right.
And the game has changed significantly since then. So, open table, I've had some ideas, but full disclosure... doing the YouTube stuff for 7 Super Series, and at the moment they're all just one-off games. I would love to take that and do a league over time with teams that progress.
Yep.
Do like a mini season and have it episodic and just be something that can develop over time. However, the fact there is very little out there and the volatile nature of 7s, I think means you probably couldn't just run the basic league system for 11s in 7s. So What are your guys' thoughts on Blood Bowl 7's league rules?
It has to be limited. I think any skill options should be basic.
So start with a blank team.
Mm-hmm.
Generate SPPs as normal?
I think so, but have a very limited pool of skills you can take.
We touched on it at the tournament with the guys afterwards, and what was discussed was perhaps just earning an MVP award and skilling up that way.
Yeah.
And not for anything else.
So I did think that for the YouTube series, at the end of every game, pick 3 guys, roll randomly, D3 it, like you do the MVP award in the 2016 edition, and that player gets a skill up. It's a quick way of doing it, and it controls the league's development to keep it in line. So I'm glad that they bandied that around, because that might be one of the most logical ways to do it.
It would, but I think the biggest thing is they're meant to be no-hopers, rookies who've got no real talent, aren't they?
Or they're beginner league.
Okay,
so this is to use British football, this is like
conference.
This is one step up from pub teams.
Okay. So you're not likely to get somebody, for example, who levels up and bam, they've got Mighty Blow.
Well, actually, I thought about this as well, because I thought about this for Super Bowl. I was like, right, well, why would this make sense? Let's take the stats of all the Blood Bowl players and just assume that they are actually one lower than they really are.
So a human lineman would be 5'2", 2'7".
Yeah, but you're playing it because the environment is equal. So these guys are all worse players than regular players, but the skill ups and the strength ups and stat ups are comparatively balanced against each other.
Right.
So a strength 3 guy in 7s against a strength 3 guy in 7s, really, if they're like beginner players or they're the dregs of Blood Bowl, if they were to play in a real league, they might be considered actually strength 2. But in the environment of a 7s pitch, actually, that guy going to strength 4 or that guy getting to edge 4 really is just edge 3 in the real world. But in a 7s environment, that guy's great. He's really good. He's not really good, he's just as good as normal Blood Bowl players, but in the 7s environment, actually, he's just better. That, for me, took away the fluff edge of going, actually, it seems crazy to have strength 5 humans in Blood Bowl 7s. Actually, that guy's just really super talented and he would only be strength 4 or something in regular Blood Bowl.
Right.
It for me, and this is completely left field, but my love of the X-Wing model gaming system, where you have a stat for a aircraft and then you have the cards to personalise it. I would love to see, and I think 7s would be a good fit for that, where you your skill ups, you actually get to choose from a deck of cards, and therefore you can personalise your.
I like the idea in principle. I think the thing I struggled. I agree with what you're saying, but yes, they're not as good as your standard Blood Bowl players. They are the rookies, the amateurs, whatever you want to call them. But I think if you end up reducing stats and start playing around with that to accommodate it, ends up being a bit lost.
Not actually reducing them, just explaining it by saying that strength 3
it's thematic,
actually it's just in their environment. So you're not actually changing any of the rules. The elves still have elf stats, but you're like, why would an Edge 5 elf be playing in Blood Bowl 7s? Why wouldn't he have been stolen? Because actually he's
in a level 2 grade.
Yeah.
It's equivalent to the grade he's in or the level he's in.
So not actually changing their stats, but it explains away the fact that even a player who ends up with block Mighty Blow in 7s, when he goes to the big leagues, that block just stands him in line with everyone who doesn't have block.
Right. So it's just a mindset.
Just a way to explain why these players are better than that. Take away that edge. As for choosing level up and skills, now I love that idea because we talked about that on the way back for 7s, but that is very much tournament build.
But does it have to be? Because Blood Bowl, in its original format, is your perfect league team. Blood Bowl 7s, you've got to approach it differently for a 6-game or 8-game league.
Yeah.
And maybe this is a nice way of customising or giving your team personality without having to overpower. Because on a small field, once your players start skilling up, it's just going to get tough.
So you bring a really good point, which is that when you're playing with something that's 600 Team V, with 7 or 8 players, really, no rerolls, maybe one, someone getting a double, someone getting a couple of guys who have skill ups, that gap opens up real quick, doesn't it?
It does. So these cards, in my mind,
and
it's a strange place, instead of getting a traditional skill up, you might get a skill up that you can use once per game. So that player that you get, once per game he can use Leap, or once per game he can use Mighty Blow.
It's a sudden urge, sudden...
Maybe that's how you can give your team that edge without being overpowered.
That is the field, but actually that might suit a Blood Bowl 7's quick play structure really well.
Might do, yeah. My thought is you could run it, if you're going for a narrative type of thing, it could be ran as a precursor to an actual league. So say, for example, you're planning on running Norse for an 11s team. Or there's all of you, there's 6 teams and you're going to take humans, Norse, Chaos, whatever. However, you run it as a 7s first. So you run your 6 games. Then, at the end, anybody who has leveled up, you get the option to be able to bring them on as part of your team as an immediate sort of jump up or something that gives you that sort of edge to bolster your team at the beginning without having to worry about rolling for everything. You can kind of go, Duke Hazard has done really well. He's now part of this team and he actually comes along with block and dodge, whatever.
And you purchase him into the big leagues.
Yes.
That's kind of where we're looking. That's kind of what I'm kind of looking at is Blood Bowl 7s is a quick play format. Gives you something really special, really different. But you miss that league development and that story. It really is about what damage, what danger is there in having that story. So actually having a 6-game 7s league, you could cover it in 3 evening sessions.
Oh, easy.
And then when you go to the big league, then you can buy your team from those players and you get a way of jump starting a league in there. But you also get that throughput. But within that league environment, if you were to use the standard Blood Bowl rules, you would get bloat, you would get injuries, and that. So, Rick, your Dark Elves this season, you've had multiple games, you had 2 or 3 guys out.
Yep.
Put that into a 7s environment, multiple games with 2 or 3 people out is just going to be really tough.
Well, that's true. Yeah. If your team's getting hurt,
would you be allowed 3 players?
Yes.
Because in theory, it's a case of next one up.
So I love that because I have in my little notes for my ideas, I'm exactly the same as you. So because that's exactly it. Is that these guys are the dregs? They are easily replaceable. So I put in there journeyman. Okay, or a team that's got less than 7 roster players can just hire a lineman for free to bring up to 7 players because it doesn't cost you anything. Because the next guy just comes up. And that might take a bit of the edge away from having your guys injured for an elf team or a Skaven team. Is right, I'm not getting to the point where I can buy the next player I want or that next reroll because I keep having to spend my money buying linemen, which hampers a lot of teams. And we've seen it from running multiple seasons, and this is why we got rid of the redraft rules, is because the dwarves and the high armoured teams had so much money that it didn't matter, whereas the low armoured teams didn't because they had to keep replacing the lineman. And it wasn't a lot of fun. It's no fun buying a lineman. No. You don't benefit from it.
No.
You don't benefit from it. So that might counterbalance it for that point. I really do like that skill card idea. But I think
that to me, for a Blood Bowl 7s, it's I don't know if you have to grade the area between League and Blood Bowl. You've talked about it in previous podcasts, how running a League team, once if someone's late coming in, you're playing against a team that's already got 5 games under its belt, it's difficult to... if you run a prequel of 7s that you're then drawing players in that if they've done well in that league and... I think Blood Bowl works as it is.
Well, can I tell you the reason I'm very excited about that card idea? Is because you could do a... this is it. You could do a draft. So you've got the cards.
Yeah.
You've got the deck of skill ups. You draw 5 cards. You look, you pick one for your team, you pass it around to the next guy. You draft skill sets. Then you use those skills that you've drafted, put them on your team, and then play a quick game of 7s.
Yeah.
And do a random...
That'd be great for a snapshot.
It would be a really interesting evening. We're going to do a Blood Bowl 7s draft. How does that work? Well, we've got these skill up cards. This is Leap level 0.
It'd be like Speed Bowl.
Yeah.
You literally just... you get one person just sits there, and then everybody else moves around. Just a complete sort of speed dating with Blood Bowl, but that would be great. You've got 1 or 2 skills, there, done. There's your team.
Yeah.
And you literally just rotate onto the next one. You could do that 3 games in an evening. That's a mini tournament.
Yeah.
For me, I would like the challenge of... I like playing my leagues, but I'd like to be able to play a game... 7's actually... It ticks the box for me with a... You're still skilling up, but the skills are not so powerful that it changes that quick
Dynamic,
game. Yeah. And if you were doing 2 or 3 games in a night, you can, your team can...
You get that advancement.
See, this is why I think that you might even have to limit the skills that you've got access to. Because Mighty Blow, for example, could decimate in a 7s game.
It could, but if you're going to use it once...
Yeah.
That's true.
That's quite clever. So, that card idea, I'd love to come back to another time.
Yep.
Because I think that ties into something else I'd like to talk about, which is skill leveling.
Mm-hmm.
So, having skills of various levels, which goes back to 2nd edition Blood Bowl, where there was like Mighty Blow +1, Mighty Blow +2.
That's right.
Actually, there's a lot of skills, like Block, for example. You could use Block, given it a variable value. So, Block level 0 means once per game you can use the Block skill. Block 1 is just Block.
Yeah.
Block 2, those guys get Block, and people who have a block of lower level, it gets ignored. And then it gives you an even bigger tree of options. Like, right, my guy's got block Mighty Blow. Do I now just give him block level 2? Which means that I've got block against someone with block level 1 and it's just completely ignored. And so it skills them up. So actually you can still develop your players and it just creates that skill depth deeply. We could even go for something like pass level 2, which gives your guy +1 to the pass, which makes it accurate, although that is just accurate. But, something like that.
And just developing the actual skill.
Yeah, given that depth. Mighty Blow +2. Stuff like that. Which would tie in real well with cards. And we could even populate some kind of Blood Bowl card set where you do have 7s level skills, which is once per game I use Leap. Or, that's why I think a drafting format would be really good.
I wonder if you could do that on the less taken skills.
Yeah.
So... The standard skills are what they are, but the less taken skills...
You get Frenzy once a game, or Shadowing. or
block.
diving tackle all the time, or block ×1. Right, he's going to use his block skill just once, or the team gets block ×1.
Oh, wow.
So instead of a player getting block, we did some training on block this time, so actually once per game I can use the block skill. He's got block. That's now gone.
That right there fits into RPG land.
Yeah.
That.
You level up.
Yeah.
Really
I
dynamic.
like that.
Really
done
dynamic
training
play.
this week. Everybody gets block to use once.
1 point during this round, or half, depending on your level, your guy can use block as if he had block, or dodge as if he had dodge, because this time we did dodge training. That would be a really interesting way of adding that flavour without massively suffering the bloat of leagues and tournaments. However, I'd like to bring it back to Sevens leagues.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Because I really want to know the best way to do the YouTube series or to run a Sevens league at a club. And what I think is, you start off with your minimum build, exactly like you would in Sevens. The same rules apply in 0 to 4 positionals. Your rerolls cost double. You do it for a short amount of games, up to 6, something like that.
How about you cap the TV you can get to?
Yeah. That is probably the best way of doing it.
Because it gets to a certain point, you can have a couple of players who are really good, and then you either make a decision that get rid of a couple of the ones who aren't so good, or you get rid of him because he's moved up into the big boy leagues. That's
how some of the other older Sevens rule sets were set. So basically, when a guy leveled up, after his first level up on a 2+ he'd be fine, but on a 1 he'd get drafted by the big leagues, and you lose him and just get a replacement lineman, for example, or replacement of that position. Or so your war dancer levels up, and then he gets taken for the big leagues, and you get a generic war dancer again to replace him. I like the idea of that, but I hate the randomness of it, because it means actually if someone just rolls really well, they've got all their skilled players, which winds me up.
Doesn't have to be rolled. Can you just say, first game you're at 600 TV, second game you're at 700, third game you're at 800?
Something like that, very much. But then again, you're going back into tournament builds. So it's my second game, I've got 1 skill up. Now that might not be a bad way to do a Sevens league, but it does take some of the story element out of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing you want to try and keep.
After my first game, I get a skill up. After my second game, I get to skill up another player. But you lose that, right, this guy pulled off 2 touchdowns, and now he levels up, and boom, he's randomly strength 4. Now I've got this guy who's really cool, and I'm only going to have him for a few games.
You can with regards to, because obviously we mentioned the stat skill ups a couple of times in this. What if they can't? No stat skill ups.
But then you lose one of the most exciting parts of leveling up.
True, but then it takes away from what Sevens is about.
So I think Sevens is a really good little competitive game. I like it. I've said, like, similar to Magic the Gathering or something like that. You've got your builds and you've got a quick game turnover, and I think it's great like that. But this is about whether or not Sevens could be used to can you get the story and the league story of building your franchise in Sevens, or is Sevens really only suitable for set piece builds? And it might be that it is only suitable for set piece builds, and the best way to do it is at the end of the game you pick 3 guys, you randomly choose, one of them gets to level up and he gets a normal skill.
Yeah.
And if we think that's the best way to do it,
I think that's the way that fits in best with the way Sevens is meant to be.
I'm inclined to say the same thing.
Yeah.
I think your traditional Blood Bowl is what you're talking about. Your Sevens is a different tool.
Yeah.
And although I'm right there with you, I like the idea of you love the personality of your team, and you want to see it grow.
It's too big in Sevens.
Yeah, it's too big.
Yeah,
I think you go from 650, one guy gets a skill up. Say you're at 600 TV, one guy gets a skill up, he's up to 650. That's a huge increase. That's the player.
Massive.
That's something which isn't so bad when you're playing with 11, 12 players. But when you're playing with 7, that guy then becomes absolutely massive. So it's a really, and that is probably why there is no decent rule sets out there for a Sevens league with SPPs and standard growth.
I think you would be hard pushed to choose a stat up anyway if you roll it in the Sevens.
Oh, I don't know, man. I'd take Edge on most people because I think it'd be great fun.
Yeah.
I'd take strength on most people.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would.
Strength 4 human blitzer in 7s would be amazing. I think it'd be great fun.
It would be good, but is it worth the...
Is it worth a TV bloke? That's
and
a really fair shout. Because one of the other things I thought about was you can't use star players in 7s.
Yep.
So you've got a TV difference. Let's just say someone's playing 7s they're doing a league with 7s, or they're using the league rules as written.
Mm.
They've ended up where someone's got a couple of skill ups or a stat up, and one of you guys is injured, and you've replaced him with a journeyman or whatever. So you're actually down TV. There's not a lot you can take to close that gap in 7s.
No. You could do the 30k kegs those GW now using.
You could. But I thought one of the things where you can't take star players, you could have taken a semi-pro, which instead of, so you 0-2 star players, you take a 0-2 positional on your team, because obviously in 7s you can only take 4 positionals.
Yep.
Actually, instead of taking a star player to minimise that gap, you could pick up, so say you're a Skaven, you had your stits, you could pick up a gutter runner who comes with loner or whatever to fill that gap. But I still don't know if that would take away that team value edge.
So taking away, so not limiting it to the positionals. So if you already had 4,
so
you
basically,
could take on a star player as a 5th.
But instead of star players, because you can't have them in 7s because they're too low, you essentially allow 2 mercenaries to be taken as from the positional sections of the team.
Fine, okay. I like that. Because that still gives you that edge. If you've got someone who's got that potential, a couple of extra skills, I think the fact that go back to humans, the chance of being able to take that additional blitzer could be massive.
Or you run you pick up a catcher to give you that scoring element. They come with catch. That was just one thing I thought actually might counterbalance some of the bloat that you would have
without putting an OP player in.
Yeah,
I like that.
They come with loner. I would say that where you normally pay the 20k extra for a mercenary, you would drop it in 7s.
You could also consider animosity.
I did think that because they're showboating. I think that's a really cool idea. Semi-pros or wannabes.
Yeah, that's it.
Well,
I'm better than you.
That was the other thing or you do allow star players, but you just give them all animosity as well because they are wannabes. So it's not actually Morgenthorg. It's this ogre that thinks it's Morgenthorg. And compared to 7s players, he is Morgenthorg, but he wants to show off.
Yeah.
However, Morgenthorg really shouldn't be doing the ball handling. But another star player, for example. I am, however, in agreement that I think the bloke you get in leagues would almost double down in 7s.
Yeah, I think so.
I reckon so. It'll be debilitating.
And those games where you're a cool player or you're just positionals, now you've got less positionals by a long shot in 7s as well, is really quite crippling. So I'm thinking that the best way to do it is game 1 you get 1 skill up, game 2 you get 2 skill up, you get another skill up. So each game as you go your team develops with 1 skill up each. The question is, would you limit it to 1 skill up per player, or would you allow them to double down?
2. No more than 2 skills a player.
Yeah, I'd definitely say no more than 2.
I think that works.
Because then you're showing that someone is developing.
I almost think 1 per player.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the season, you'd have a team of skilled players.
What about the use of doubles?
No. I think doubles is too much. Maybe 1.
So, the problem is there are going to be certain players where they just become animals on the 7s pitch.
Yes. Werner.
Well, I was just going to say werewolves. If you have a werewolf, which they absolutely terrified me.
I think the 1 per player is probably a good limit. I think that's probably a good limit.
Or 1 per positional. 2 to alignment.
But then you've got the likes of ogres, for example, where you don't have that option.
You do. You've got snotlings.
What is 6? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Rick means that your lineman guys can have 2 skill ups, but positionals like
gutters.
Yeah, not
I like that.
Not 1 gutter runner on a team can have skill up. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. Sorry, quite off you now.
Yeah, that could be quite interesting as well.
I like that.
Any more than that, and they would get immediately snapped up and stolen.
Yeah.
But I'm going to come back to doubles again because some of the most exciting tournament building you do is you get that option in most skill sets of a double. especially for stunties. Do you think that it might be a way to tie it into a tier system?
I don't think it needs a tier system, because I think everybody has good and bad ways of using a double. But I don't think it should be limited necessarily. Initially I thought no, it should just be singles because of obviously the standard that they're supposed to be playing at. But if you can have one out of those 6 that can do it, then you're not sort of...
Do you know what? Doubles don't...
rinsing it.
It doesn't bother me, in my mind. I think...
Choosing a regular versus a double skill.
If you have a positional that can take one skill up and he chooses a double...
Yeah.
You're not going to overpower him. He's just going to be a good player at...
See,
Whereas if you have a lineman, even with 2 skill ups and he chooses doubles, see, often you don't want to take... So you've got something in mind for your player.
But on a blitzer, almost any blitzer or blocker, you're talking about blodging players.
Yep.
That's just going to become monotonous. That takes away from the...
From a build point of view, the beauty of doubles is it allows teams to feel slightly different.
Yep.
So Chaos versus Renegades versus Skaven. Skaven need those doubles to get those mutations.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos don't. If you had allowed doubles to be taken instead of regulars on everybody, you could have mutated Skaven, which could be quite cool, but then that takes away the advantage of Underworld. One thing I think might be a way around it is using the tier set and just saying that, for example, tier 3 teams at skill 1, 3, 5 can be a double. Tier 2 teams at skill 2 and 5 can be a double. You end up kind of having an increasing tournament kind of format where you get the builds, or just, 1 in your first 3 can be a double, or if you're tier 3, 1 in your first 2 can be a double, or 1 in your 6 if you're tier 1 can be a double. So you still have the option of going, you know what, I'm going to use my double this time. I'm going to throw my Bombardier in there, and if I roll him as the MVP, I'm going to use my double for this half of the season and give him Hail Mary. Just because that would be quite entertaining.
The only thing that concerns me is that it could end up becoming just too complicated because it's throwing too much into it.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't want it to be random rolls. Because if you're going to do a creeping tournament, well, it is a tournament build essentially, as a league element, you can't have everybody rolling because they are going to get all it. So one team's going to get a load of doubles and maybe a stat ups if you didn't ban them. Your TV is then out.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do a creep, skill by skill by skill, the beauty of that, and if you have no injuries, the beauty of that is it keeps your TV evens. And you're kind of playing a slow build tournament set.
So you're saying on game 3,
yeah,
a player can choose a double skill,
that kind of thing, yeah,
basically.
yeah.
I'm unsure.
It's an interesting one because I think generic league play would be too
heavy for
too
it.
Real in sevens.
Do you know? I don't know. I really like the idea of tying games together that don't necessarily have to be in a league. I think it's just got to, you definitely have to come up with some sort of control method. That's where I got those cards in mind, because for me, if a human team, for instance, there's a deck of 15, 20 cards, you can flick through and say, right, end of my first game, I'm going to choose that player to be someone.
He's going to get that.
And that gives you the story you're looking for.
Yeah.
But it's not a league. It's just, how do I tie 6 games together? Well, yeah, and you got 3 human teams that they might choose 3 completely different lineups.
But in that situation, aren't you just doing 3? Is that not just match play?
Yeah.
Which we talked about a few episodes ago. Rick, we're going to play a 1100 team game. Okay,
there you go.
I'm going to build this guy. And next week you're going to play 1150.
You're still building that. You still have this progression,
but you just keep increasing your guys.
So you're talking about after each game. Let's let them choose a stat.
Yeah.
So let them choose a card.
Well,
and then they take that player into the next game.
Because I think what you lose there is the excitement of the uncertainty of Blood Bowl. You don't know what you're rolling because you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
What if you literally... It can be as simple as, fine, you've got your deck of however many, shuffle them, pull it over. choose which player that goes on.
But it doesn't matter because again, what tool is Blood Bowl Sevens? You've got a league system that actually I don't really feel like getting bogged down in a league. Let's just play a string of games and there's a way of tying those. It's all, well, for me, Blood Bowl Sevens is...
I agree that is the best use of Blood Bowl Sevens. Is a match play format. It really is.
Maybe it's just not meant for league.
And that is the question, which we have not managed to answer.
But I still think there's a format for stringing games together in a nice set.
It doesn't become a tournament. That
way.
becomes a campaign, doesn't it? That becomes a campaign.
That becomes a campaign.
Like a war game campaign.
It does, because you're developing it as you go along.
Yeah.
Without necessarily the effects of a league or otherwise, isn't it?
Yeah. Warcry, the new game, the skirmish game that's coming from Warhammer, they have campaigns in there. And the way they do it is that every team has its own campaign and it can be played individually. But at games 3, 6, 12 or something, they have a thing called a convergence. And at that point, they get the extra special skill ups. But every game they do, well, it's Games Workshop, so it's random. So you can just roll 1s and get nothing. Or someone else can roll 6s and get everything. But the idea is that after every game, your team should increase it.
So is that perhaps the format you need to look for a Sevens?
And that's what you guys already did mention, which is at the end of a game, someone gets a level up. And you do creep it forward. And I think that's probably the format I'm going to go for the YouTube tournament or league. Because I think it does give you a way of developing those teams. So they do get a bit of identity. You have it resurrection.
Yep.
Because not having it resurrection will be really brutal. And elves and Skaven players will just massively agree with that. And I think it's probably the best way of getting around to it, given the Sevens environment. That said, I'm with Rick. I do think that Sevens is a good match play format. And but the beauty of Blood Bowl is in League. So it'll be interesting to see if we can tie this together.
It's a beauty of Blood Bowl.
It's one of the trifecta, isn't it? You've got the game, the match itself, the individual puzzle that Sevens is brilliant for, because it's quicker to get to, the builds are interesting, and you develop those games, and there's no setup for it.
But I have it's a gaming problem. When I play games, I always go so far, and then I kind of start to drift off and lose interest and want to try something else. And so my teams never progress so far because my mind's gone on to the next thing.
That's why we talked about match play in Blood Bowl the other day. Is because actually that's why tournaments can be so much fun. Is because you're like, right, I'm going to play 4 games with this. What's my build? What's my story going to be with those?
Yeah.
And if you did have, say, let's play we're going to play a 6-game Sevens league. And after every game, one guy gets a skill of your choice. So you build up your team as you go. You build up that story. You've got the builds in your mind. Might be a good halfway house.
So Wobble has a league system going.
It does.
Which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, we play every other week.
Yeah.
So you could then sit there and think, okay, I'm playing Dark Elves in my league game, but I'm quite curious to see how
does Nurgle play?
How does Nurgle play? So you can pick up those 7 games in a different format where they can skill up just in a thought about manner over 6 games.
You get a quick fix.
So you get a quick fix.
2 sessions, 4 games. You've played 4 development games. You don't get the excitement of rolling those doubles and those strength ups, but that's not for the game, that's for a long haul, isn't it? I guess.
Very much so.
What I am curious to know is how do some of the teams fare in Sevens? Because at the tournament on the weekend, there were very specific teams chosen.
There were, yeah.
You know, how would a vampire team stack up?
Nobody took dwarves, Rick.
Yeah, no one took dwarves.
I nearly took vampires.
Yeah,
my hobby budget got ruined.
Yeah. And that can open it up to something even better, Rick, which is mixed team 7s and stunty 7s. And that's just something that we have to try at some point.
Mixed team stunty 7s?
Yeah. Looney sevens.
There's just not enough players in sevens for that.
Ramp up the team value a little bit and have a crack. 660 mixed team sevens. I think it'd be great fun.
That'd be insane.
Right. Any final thoughts on the suitability of sevens for leagues and how to make it work, if any way?
I think the only way of doing it is a campaign, and you run it individually as opposed to cooperatively.
So the question is, do you keep the stats, keep the skill ups between games and then add on, or do you go, right, it's my second game, so I get one skill, who am I going to give this skill to? It's my third game, so I've got 2 skills this match, do I give them to people? That's the difference between a campaign and a match play, is because you're going, it's week 3, what are we at week 3? 2 skills, right, for 2 skills I'm going to give this guy and this guy. Are they different skills than you take in week 4? So week 4 is 3 skills. Actually, you know what? Let's just say 1 skill per week. So week 1 you got 1 skill. Week 2 you got 2 skills. Does that skill from week 1 have to stay in play?
Yes.
I think it should, and that's the campaigns bit.
Yeah, I agree, because otherwise, because you're still developing, you still get a chance to write your story.
Yeah.
If Joe Bloggs has blocked for this match and then all of a sudden doesn't, well, what happened?
Yeah. And would you want it random or would you want to pick?
Random.
Because I can see the benefit of both there.
Or, going back to your mention of, I think it was yours, of training. And you said, they did block training this week. Is, why can't you create a table saying, okay, so there's, I don't know, this week we did block, wrestle and juggernaut training. And then you roll on that. Or that's one option, and another one is dodge, sidestep and leap. So you get these different ones on a d6, roll a d6, and then whatever it is, you get a choice of those 3 skills to be able to put on a player.
What if
Yeah,
skills have a value?
they do.
So a double is worth more than a single. So what if you were awarded money,
team values put towards your skills, and you can save up.
and you can save up to
So
buy
you
the
get-
double that you want?
So you get 30k after every game.
Yep. Which
Do I take a double, or do I save up and then after the next game I get 2 singles as well? So you go 600 to 630 to 660.
so a way of purchasing your skills.
That is quite a cool idea. A lot of
Or
RPGs use
save
that
it
system.
all up and then just go hell for leather on game 6.
It's interesting.
It's
'cause
resurrection.
When we
I'd
talked
consider
about
that.
match play, Ben did say this. He was saying, why don't you just say his 60k, buy stuff, strength, agility, doubles,
Well, what's
singles.
a single skill update you
20k.
20k,
Yeah,
Doubles are 30.
doubles are 30.
Movement's 30.
armor's
So
30.
you could restructure those for a sevens somehow, or how much? So at the end of the first game you get 20k.
I think if you restructure
You can
the value,
forego buying
Well,
20k that you have to play another game without a skills up, but
Yeah.
then you can get a double and have 10k left over. Then you play another game and then you've got 30, so you could get another double. So
you know what? Because in that you get team crafting as well, but it is controlled and it's not overpowered. You're making that choice not to have that skill to get you there,
yeah.
aren't you? I like that, Rick. I think that's really quite interesting. I really like that. I think I'm going to have to butcher that and use that. That's brilliant. That is really brilliant. Okay, everybody out there, if you're still listening,
Yeah.
give us some feedback. Let us know what you think would work for a more of a controlled league development, but might fit Blood Bowl 7s. And we're going to move on to our star player. So, the star player we're going to go for this week is one we just haven't covered yet because we haven't done our Nurgle deep dive. So, we're going to go for Bulla Shardhorn, which is a Pestigore. It can only be taken on the Nurgle team. 230k, movement 6, strength 3, edge 3, armor 8. That is a
Human
bog,
lineman.
well, it's a bog standard Pestigore, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so skills wise, loner,
Mm-hmm.
and here we go. Block, extra arms, foul appearance, horns, yeah, Nurgle's rot, regeneration, stab, and 2 heads.
This
That's
is like amazing.
It's an absolute ton of skills. So, block horns.
is good.
Blocking and blitzing on a strength 4. It's got 2 heads, so it's dodging
on a 4+. On an edge 4.
Edge 3.
Yeah, but it's with 2 heads.
Oh,
you get +1
so
to your
he's dodging as
dodging.
if he was edge 4.
Yeah.
So it's not the best at smashing into cages, but it's not bad. 3+ into 1 tackle zone for that blitz.
It's pretty good.
That's not bad. It's not bad. So extra arms, which is +1 to catch and stuff, isn't it?
Yes, and no, not pick up. Pick up's big hand, isn't it?
Yeah. So not the most useful of skills in extra arm, but foul appearance, I know, is one of your favourite skills, Richard.
It is. I do like that a lot. I think it's just that one extra dice that someone's got to roll. And
so
extra.
how does it work? You've got to roll to be able to block them.
Yeah, to be able to block or blitz. And if you fail it, it's not a turnover, but your action stops.
Yeah.
You just don't make the block.
Yeah,
that's it, and their activation finishes. So
I like the mixture of extra arms and 2 heads.
So it's thematic, and actually dodges around on a 2+, and catches things on a 2+ for an accurate pass.
No, the 2 heads is only on dodging.
Yeah, so dodges everywhere on a 2+.
Yeah,
and
then it doesn't catch it on a 2+.
Extra arms does, doesn't it?
Oh, does it?
Yeah, that's what extra arms does.
Oh.
So instead of a 3+ to catch, it's a 2+. So it's dodging everywhere on a 2+, and catching accurate passes on a 2+, or handoffs.
And blitzing on a strength 4.
Yeah. So 2 heads means that actually it doesn't have dodge, but it is dodging away on a 2+.
Yeah.
So you can give it the ball. It's got foul appearance as a little bit of protection. It's got block, again, more protection. It's blitzing out of places on a strength 4. So if it's got the ball, so you've given it the ball on 2+, someone bases it, or they survive a block. It can then either have a strength 4 block attack, or it can dodge out on a 2+, or it can declare a blitz, have a 2-die block a go. If it doesn't work, you still can dodge out of that other tackle zone.
With regeneration.
Regen, yeah. Nurgle's Rot may come in handy every now and again in a league game.
What does Nurgle's Rot do?
If you kill a dude, you get a dude.
Right, okay.
3 or 4.
Yeah, not a stunty, not a strength 5. At the end of the game, you get a guy on a 4+ or something.
Yeah.
If they are dead, murder, death, kill. So that's semi-useful. But so
he'd be great as a rostered player.
Well, 230 is quite a lot, and compared to Lewd Grip, I just don't think it's as good because Lewd Grip's got the sure hands and the pass. I think so. Lewd Grip is an enabler for your team. This guy is basically going to be scoring the touchdowns.
He is,
but he's movement 6, so he's not exactly going to break away and score.
No, but he is the fastest player on a Nurgle team.
He is the fastest player.
But do you need a fast player on the Nurgle team? He's not fast enough.
No, you're right. If he was movement 7 or movement 8, you'd have something really special.
Yeah,
you'd have something really special there. It's just a really levelled up Pestigore.
I know, but I think.
But the weird thing is he's got stab as well.
That's got to be the horns, isn't it? Or the extra growths.
Yeah, so you've got someone who can blitz on the strength 4 with block. Alright, that's not bad at all. Someone who can catch things on a 2+ and dodge out on a 2+. Again, not bad at all. Regen, so he's going to stick around.
Foul appearance, so if you want to block him, you've got to be able to block him first.
And he's got stab as well. So again, that will help with stab. The idea is you line him up. He's got block to protect himself. He's got regen so he comes back. He's got foul appearance so he might not get punched in the first place. And he can still have a crack at stabbing somebody. It's an interesting player. I'm not sure. So Rich, you've played a lot of Nurgle.
Yes.
Why would you use this player?
Your Pestigores are your ball carriers. You don't want to give it to a rotter, it doesn't move fast enough. You can't really give it to a warrior because they've only got edge 2. So your Pestigores are your ball runners. They're the guys that are scoring your touchdowns for you. Now if you're in a game where you've got, I don't know, towards the end of the season maybe, you've got 300k difference, one of these and I don't know, a keg maybe, could make a massive difference because all of a sudden you've got someone who can defend himself, can get himself out of a situation and can catch the ball. Can you imagine if you had 400,000, right? And you had him and Lewd Grip whip on?
Yeah, but that is a huge TV difference. I don't think...
It does happen.
It's certainly versatile.
It's very versatile. So it might be quite good from a tournament build.
Mm.
Although with tournament, if you've got a skill set where you can give one of the other guys shorthands, this guy does do it all.
I would happily take him over 2 or 3 normal pesticles, particularly in a tournament build.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting player. I've not played against him. I don't see me playing against him because the thing is with Nurgle is they tend to bloat.
They do.
That is a pun, because they've got regen, and when the little guys die, you just buy more.
Yeah.
Or you create more by killing other players.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the opportunity to take 300k as inducements doesn't come up very often.
No.
And when you do, you're kind of looking at Lewd Grip as an enabler for the rest of your team. Yeah. Interesting one.
I like
He has
it.
got Stab though, and I like Stab.
I like
is good
Stab.
fun. Stab is good fun, but this guy, unlike the Dark Elf Assassin, is armor 8, not armor 7, and has block. So this guy's going to survive getting punched and regeneration, whereas the Dark Elf Assassin is just optimism on the Blood Bowl pitch.
Why I like it.
Wonderful. Well, Rick, thank you very much for joining us again today.
And congratulations again.
Absolutely.
Good win.
Thank you guys. Yeah, it was a great tournament, and I think to all the guys that came along,
We had a great bunch
it
of
was
coaches.
really good fun.
Yeah,
Really good bunch of games. Enjoyed painting your Punga Miniatures team.
Yeah, I will.
Make sure to send us some pictures. And that is a wrap for the show. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody.
And don't forget, 2 heads aren't always better than 1.